Um, Ogden is actually the biggest Utah mission out there, I think. And even then, you can see 3 missions across. So I served in Pleasant View at the top of the big hill in Ogden, and I could see all the way to Salt Lake, which is 3 missions away. So it was very weird. Okay, but first, some funny experiences. I served most of my mission in central downtown Ogden, which is super, super ghetto. Okay, the 2 armpits of Utah are Salt Lake and Ogden. Very ghetto, very crime-ridden, and lots and lots of homeless. And I served most of my mission in the downtown homeless area, especially one area that was only 2 wards, and it was about 24 city blocks. So I could walk from one end of my area to the other in 5 minutes. It was that small, and it was all just these super ghetto apartments that had a lot of work, but most of our teaching pool would get arrested right before they got baptized. So it was very interesting. But I served in this one area for 8 months, which is about twice as long as you usually would spend in an area. And you know you've been in an area for a long time when you start to know the homeless people by name. Okay, so we were getting chased home by schizophrenic, we call them Ogdenites, like all the time. There was one time we had an Ogdenite follow us to our house and then walk in and talk to us, and thankfully he liked missionaries and he just wanted to express his gratitude, but it was still scary. But my favorite funny experience was with this guy named Joe. So we were at the park, and we were talking to this guy, a friend of Joe, who's like actually, he's not homeless, but he likes to spend time with the homeless. And we were talking with him, and he's an atheist. He only believes in science, blah, blah, blah. And he was just trying to philosophize and reason with us why religion is unnecessary. And all of a sudden, Joe comes up, and Joe used to be a member of the church, but, got into drugs and went inactive. And then Joe turns to him, and he's like, wait, hang on, you're saying you don't believe in God? It's like, yeah, I only believe in science. It's like, so you believe in the Big Bang Theory? Yeah? So you believe in evolution? It's like, yeah, of course, it just makes sense. This guy, he had a pair of shades. He took them off. He looked at it dead in the eye. He's like, if evolution is real, then how come all the monkeys aren't turning into humans? And he just walked away. So that was my first experience with Joe. Okay? I got to see Joe like a dozen times in my time in Ogden East, but every time he could not remember me because of all the drugs. So every time it was like he was meeting me for the first time. And finally, like a week before I left that area, I saw him across the street, and I called him by name. I was like, Joe, it's time. The Lord needs you to come back to church. And then some cars went by, and I ran away. And I disappeared, and I looked, and he was just like... The next day, he pulled up to church, and I was sitting there, and he came down and sat next to me, and again did not recognize me. And we're 20 minutes into sacrament meeting, and he just looks at me, he's like, has this 5-minute long epiphany and realization that he's known me for 8 months, and then he's like, you've been here all along. And then he commits to start coming back to church and meeting with the bishop to get his life back together. And then I got transferred, so I don't know what happened to Joe, but that was my favorite funny experience on the mission. But now for the spiritual experiences.